Good afternoon. This is a special edition of Scrap Talk, live in location in our non-ferrous building here at Morristown Iron and Metal. Thank you for joining us today on today's episode of Scrap Talk. My name is Ross Litz.
Kip Brown.
That's Kip Brown, and we are excited to talk to you today about copper. We've talked in prior episodes about the uses of copper and how it's used and why we buy it and why people should recycle. We've explained the different types of metals.
We have.
But we thought we would do a little deeper dive today into copper specifically. Copper, there's some different regulations on how we can buy copper, and copper is very expensive in the scrap industry world. Probably one of our most expensive commodities that we handle.
Yeah, it would be the gold.
Right, it would be the gold of scrap.
Metals.
So we're going to start there first today. We're going to spend a little time educating you a little bit about the different grades of copper, how you can sell it to us, and what we do with it once we buy it.
And with a visual aid where you can actually see what we're talking about, because there are a lot of different forms of copper.
Right. So let's just get started. First of all, when you come in the state of Tennessee and you sell copper to a scrap recycling facility, it's critical that we get your information. We can't buy the copper without it, so
Yes.
We need to know you have an ID. We need to know that we get your fingerprint. We need a valid address.
Copper's pre-regulated.
Because we can't pay you on the spot in Tennessee. So if you're going to bring scrap to us, or scrap copper to us, you need to know first and foremost that we're going to have to mail you a check, and it's a 5-day wait period for that check. So that being said, we're going to dive into actually what copper looks like in the different grades.
Let's get into it.
So we're going to start with probably the purest copper, and we call that bare bright. And what that is copper that has not been burnt at all, that has been stripped of its insulated wire, or plastic coating, if you will. So this wire had plastic coating at one point, okay? And as you can see, it's not
Shiny.
burned, it's very shiny. So this is the highest grade of copper that you can have, okay? Most of this copper is found in high-grade electrical wiring, industrial-grade wiring. We get quite a bit of it from different factories where they tear out electrical wires. But as you can see, it's not burned. That's the key. So if it is burned, then it's downgraded to a number 1 copper. Okay? So bare bright copper. Number 1 copper. As you can see, a major difference here. Number 1 copper, you can tell that this has been burned. Somebody has taken the insulation off of it. It is still number 1 because there's no impurities on that copper. It is just straight copper. It's not been welded. It's not been soldered. It's straight copper. So, and it is thicker than a pencil head. Again, Kip alluded to it in prior episode, the way to grade number 1 versus number 2 copper, Kip.
A good rule of thumb is if it's as big as a pencil lead.
Right. If it's bigger than a pencil lead head,
it is number 1.
It's number 1. So as you can see, this is a sturdy piece of copper here, sturdy piece of wire. So that is number 1. Now, the question comes a lot of times, what about braided copper, Kip? What if it's braided?
Braided copper, you're getting into more of, not in all instances, but your lamp cords, your dryers, such as, yeah, there's a piece over there, I'm sure.
Let me show you this. Not all braided is number 2. This is braided and it's still number 1. As you can see, the ends, the tips are bigger than a pencil lead head. So this is number 1 copper, even though it's braided. But most braided wire is very thin, small gauge wire.
There's an example of number 2.
That is braided number 2 copper.
So you can see the strands are once you pull them apart, they're just way smaller. like I said, most of your lamp cords, appliance cords, are going to be number 2.
Correct. So again, we talked number 1. So let's talk tubing, copper tubing. We get a lot of tubing. This is either, out of plumbing, old plumbing. All plumbing used to be done in our houses with copper tubing. Okay.
They're getting away from that now, but
they are.
There's still a lot out there.
There's still quite a bit out there, and a lot of remodel jobs. They'll bring us their copper. This is tubing. Now you can see that they have cut the ends of this where there was probably solder joints, and the solder joints look like this, where they've bent that tubing at angles and soldered it together. So any kind of solder joint downgrades it from number 1 to number 2.
And I mean, it's really not a big deal you don't necessarily have to have a saw to get your piece of number 1 off there. A lot of places you can like bend it on, you can bend it like a place like that, and it'll, it's a short piece, so it's a little harder to do.
Right. It didn't quite bend, but that's okay.
Yes, it's not hard to make it number 1.
Yeah, so you get the drift. If it's got solder joints, it's number 2. Just remember that. So, number 2 also comes in electronics. So you can see this very fine wire. This is mostly out of either some type of a motor winding or electronic winding. This is all in our washing machines. Any kind of appliance that runs off of an electric motor, that's what this is. So copper is a great conductor of electricity. Okay, it's found in all of our electric motors
worldwide.
It's incredible for electricity.
There's a better, cleaner example of a number 2 copper. Smile like that, you've got number 2 on your hands, guys.
Right. So I hope that explains a little bit about what we call bare copper grades. We got bare bright, we got number 1, we have number 2. Now, we have also insulated copper. So insulated copper is this same material, but it still has the insulation on it. And we buy it that way as well. It can come to us in this form. This is considered number 1 insulated wire. Kip, tell us a little bit about that.
All right. Inside this coating is the same size wire as that right there, which is, I'm assuming, a ground wire. So that's why it's not got the sheathing on it. But yeah, that's Romex. This is house wire. A lot of all homes are pretty much Romex wire. It's a number 1, what we call insulated. And I mean, once you start trying to whittle all this off with a knife, you're getting into a big job. So a lot of people just bring it to us like this. It's still valuable.
It is very valuable. And the next step down would be number 2 insulated wire. Okay, so how do you tell number 2? Goes back to the similar concepts we did for the bare copper. So you can see the thin gauge wire that's inside this insulation, and that is number 2 wire. So we pay less for number 2 wire than we do number 1 wire because there's less copper actually in the wire. So and that is pretty much the summary of the different grades of copper that we have here at Morristown Iron and Metal. We encourage everyone to, hey, if you're doing a remodel job on your kitchen or your bathroom, you've got copper, bring that out to your local scrapyard. Bring that to us if you're here in our local area. Copper is sensitive. We've had to put strict laws across the country for people stealing copper because it is so valuable. So be aware of your local laws, and I'm sure there are all over the country. But please, again, do your part. Recycle. It takes all of us, right? So, Kip, any final words?
I mean, just thank everybody that comes out here and does business with us. We appreciate it, and just trying to help you guys get a better idea of what's what, and when you come here brand new, you come with a little information to begin with. So just trying to help you guys out and appreciate you.
So listen, like us, share us, follow us. We're on all platforms. So you can watch it on YouTube and listen to it on Apple and Spotify. And we got shorts all over the place. So thank you guys. This is we're early on in the game on these podcasts, but the response has been outstanding. So we thank you for all the people that have followed and watch us every week.
And if you have questions, 581-6880, we'll try to answer the best we can.
All right. Thank you guys. Have a great day.